ask him to say a few words, and then we'll get into that. But like I said, it took us about 10 minutes. I thought it would be important to recognize the chairman himself of the Board of Trustees and the members of the Board of Trustees. And to make it even stronger, it is not a coincidence that this is being held during the Omolayole lecture. It is because Baba, Dr. Michael Omolayole himself is the founder and visionary of Saltville. I thought you clap for him.
To acquire, securitize, and scale African American. So my question to you, Dr. Wilson, is, as chairman of the SIA, how should sovereign wealth funds use storytelling, IP, and cultural assets as part of their long-term investment portfolios? I'm going to add something else because Airtel is also carried. And from the experience in Airtel from across Africa, what lessons in integration and cross-border systems can we apply to build that Pan-African chain?
We need financing tools that allow patents and catalogs to become bankable assets, licensing exchanges that let our creators sell to the world, and education systems that produce the lawyers, engineers, filmmakers, and creators to write. We may hope to have the political will to treat intellectual property as infrastructure, but if it is not there, we can still find a way around it. Those who lead this non-poverty world will not only secure Africa's creative wealth, but also seize one of the fastest growing markets of the next. Where we see the wood for the trees. That is about intellectual property as a building wealth. Intentionally and strategically seeking to develop, blueprint, and invest in the continent's pipelines of ingenuity is also to dare to open new portals of economic possibilities, which we as a continent so desperately need. I don't know how much more to emphasize how much our predilection for finished outcomes rather than attention to the boundaries of our everyday inventiveness drag us into lows of poverty and shame that a brave national imagination and vision would prevent. There is no African nation, perhaps with a brief exception of apartheid South Africa, that seized on this idea to secure their, yes, highly perverse interests.
And he said, I dearly love the brethren and sisters. Today I'm going to preach about the miracle of our Lord Jesus Christ, when he fed 5 people with 5,000 loaves. One of the greatest young man in front of put up his hand and said, Pastor, that's no miracle. After do that, and the pastor suddenly realized was confused. So managed to end without going on. And he went and studied very well the Bible and got some courage back. So next week, he again said, my dear Lord of God, I was supposed to talk about the miracle of our Lord Jesus Christ when I still went out. So it has taken 27 years to produce another one. Now, certainly, Toby is what I call a product of consistency and persistency. Since 2005, I've been hammering on the fact that any big company that really needs to do so will find a worthy Nigerian, will find an intelligent Nigerian, and will find a virtuous Nigerian. I'll be the last person to believe that there are no virtuous Nigerians. And that's why we call the being a manager. It's written by two Harvard professors. It started with a fable, but it's an excellent book. I wholeheartedly recommend it. Meanwhile, where is Toby? I think, yeah. Congratulations to this. God bless.
That it is our life to see that the society which we founded has listened to the voice, to his voice, and has now appointed for a long time, for a long time, the first Nigerian humanitarian. So he deserves it. It is to honor outstanding performance. And by the grace of God, those who have been honored have maintained their integrity and have excelled. We'll be ready now almost to the
we'll be getting things like Arcon. Arcon is a regulator, so we sort of define the scope of operating in the environment there. There will be direct economy in terms of concentration, selling of flats and all of that. That is not well defined. A lot of times people are afraid of regulation, and I say that regulation is not the problem. What is the problem is over-regulation. I don't have time to go into that. So it has to be regulated. Why? So that there will be of governance around it. So that people know how to operate there and nobody is putting your lap back like a crab mentality. I'll offer one or two other things. The reality is that there's no pricing structure. Depending on who's writing what story, you don't know what the right price will be outside of Nigeria. So you can package something and that's when the pricing structure is not well defined. So these are some of the challenges that we're facing. There are solutions in time for this.
There's always a South Africa that can make phone calls and can use it. That's what happens when you are interconnected system. And we say that independence and localization of the system. Your excellent experience in Nigeria, but you go to Togo, but you go to the world. What I'm suggesting for intellectual property, the widely available in Africa, there should be such a system that interconnects major and local IPs that are formulated on local laws and regulations. Nothing should stop Nigeria from having its own IP database. Nothing should stop Togo from having its own IP database. But there should be an API interface that connects all these local systems that are needed. When you need to draw on an exchange in South Africa, you don't need to create any different languages and just
traditional knowledge, traditional medicines, indigenous music, and so on. We need to prioritize it. And how do we prioritize it? We need to ensure that our laws and policies, the legal and policy frameworks, are actually fit for purpose in this area. To a large extent, we find that we operate many of these laws or many of these policies in a collective form. There's collective ownership, for example, of folklore, folk tales, even homemade textiles. We've been talking about Adire, for example, Abeokuta textiles and all that. I remember a few years ago I was involved.
The second thing that Southerners can do is to make sure that intellectual property and the cultural access to form a category of assets that are investing. By nature, you must have a direct support. You don't want when assets are down, everything goes at the same time. So if you have assets that are negatively correlated with what you're investing in, it makes a lot of sense. What are the capabilities of assets? You have to be best. we have equities, but by nature, IPs, they are negatively correlated with success. So they can actually come back to a product of 100% of solar funds. As an investment, it makes sense for solar funds to protect and to project IP assets and corporate assets. And finally, there are
on behalf of the President of NECA, Dr. MNI, on behalf of my boss, Mr. Douglas Marquez, the teacher of NECA, and the entirety of NECA members, the Government Council, would like to appreciate the fact that once again the party is being passed on to us. It's a tradition that has been over the years, always collecting from the CCI to NECA, and thereafter, doing our own leg of the marathon, we now have it down to